based on what you've spoken about this evening, you mentioned that we hear a lot about people being held in offshore detention. Very little seems to be said of those living onshore and in our communities. How would you compare these two groups of people seeking asylum and assistance, and why do you think there's so little focus on those here in our communities?
Well, I think obviously to be detained for years in an offshore processing centre in Nauru, Papua New Guinea, or in the Australian offshore centre in Christmas Island, and at Yonga Hill, Villawood in Melbourne, to be detained without prospects of relief. Nobody knows when they're going ever to be released. That is a particularly egregious breach of human rights. Whereas, by contrast, to be in the community, even though we now know that it's a struggle with homelessness, with poverty, with isolation, with lack of work, with numerous legal restrictions, it doesn't capture the public imagination the same way that those who are held in detention does. So I think we tend to forget the 20,000, 30,000 people that are just in despair in our community because they cannot get proper legal status as refugees from the government.
Yeah, that's great. And what is the experience for those people that are living in our communities waiting to hear about their application results?
Well, it's one of despair, effectively. I mean, of uncertainty, often social isolation, loneliness that we've heard about tonight, the sense that they're dependent on finding somebody to help them fill out forms, to wait for years for the government to consider their claim to refugee status, even though they're quite convinced in their own minds that they are refugees, they suffered persecution, they're looking for a new life. So I think we're seeing a range of legal and social policy practices which are isolating these people and leaving them in a highly unstable and uncertain environment for years on end.
Yeah. How long do you think roughly is the average time for this process as well?
Well, to be honest, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
One, because we've had a freeze on any applications at all, and now we've had a deadline that ended, I think, on the 1st of October. Now we don't know how long it's going to take. But the so-called fast track system has turned out to be a very slow track system, with all sorts of legal complications. So I wouldn't for a moment dare to put a time span on it, but I think it could be years before these matters are resolved. And so that's why I think it's been so important to draw attention to those in the community, because they will suffer from this isolation, lack of work, lack of legal status for many years, and they will be an issue for the Australian community for many years to come.
Great. And just finally, what would you suggest to people such as the people who came tonight who want to do something but they don't necessarily know how? What would be your suggestions?
Well, I think not everybody wants to speak up. Not everybody has that kind of personality. I think letters to your parliamentary representatives and follow up with their officers. What are they doing about this? I think writing through your newsletters, through your social media, wearing the sticker, telling the stories in your social groups, or if you have the courage and you're willing to speak up in a public arena and be willing to tell the stories. I think one can, as in my position, I often talk about the law and international human rights law and some of the laws and policies which breach those obligations, but they don't move hearts as well as minds. You really need the stories, because Australians, in my experience, will respond to the inhumanity and lack of dignity given to people, and they may not understand the legal or political arguments and they want to stay out of it, but they always understand the personal story, and I think that probably is one of the most powerful ways of moving both hearts and minds.